Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
It's
Saturday night.
It is
I
Saturday
like the
night.
way you move.
Saturday night.
Mm.
Saturday night's all right for fighting, but not between ourselves, just other people, obviously.
And Gina G. Yes.
What was I going to say? It's episode 397, and yes, it is a Saturday night. Coming to you a little later in the week, but also last episode coming a little later too, because I haven't had time to edit it. Whole week has just, as we just mentioned, Lucy, whole week is gone.
Yeah.
Disappeared into nothingness.
Into the ether. I've worn down.
Yes, getting ever closer to, I would say episode 400, but death creeps into the mind.
That's what I was
well.
just going to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's ignore that and open some beers. What are you drinking this evening, Lucy?
I'm drinking a beer that is full of life. This is called Waiting for Nettles.
Okay.
And it's from a very small... hold on, where is it from? Apologies, I did read the can before. It's... Okay, let me read the flavour text. It says, we're all about bringing people together and closer to nature, with beers that are inspired by foraged and natural ingredients. With roots in Michelin kitchens around the world, we are passionate about pairing our beers with good food and moments worth sharing. We use ancient and modern fermentation techniques and focus on seasonal, limited batches, so we can give every brew the handcrafted care and attention it deserves. So this is Earth Ale, Bofi Vineyard, which is in Oxfordshire. So it's www.earthale.com. So I'm guessing it's from a well, not a vineyard, a small brewery within a kitchen, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have read before I came on air, but that's what we do on this podcast. There's zero preparation.
Absolutely.
If you couldn't tell, listener. Anyway, it's called Waiting for Nettles, which is a biscuity rye-based double dark mild. So I was like, all right. It opens with dark chocolate malt notes and finishes with a subtle earthy grassiness from the nettles and juniper. So yeah, I was just like, oh, there's not enough beer with nettles in there.
Yeah.
I always find it fascinating and interesting. It's 330ml can, 6.4%. So yeah, I think I found this in Sturchley Wines.
Mm-hmm.
Just have like little odd things, very small batch things from around the country that I see now and then. So I was like, ooh, nettles. Yes. That's my beer. I'm going to research Earth Ale.
I've just had a look on their. I've just had a look on their site, and they do have a variety of beers. It's just it looks like it's just one page. You just scroll through it. It takes you to a web shop if you want to. A little bit of sort of text about themselves. They've got an Instagram page, but then just lists off the beers, and they have got 10, 11, about 11 beers.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, elderflower. Yeah, I might have to look these guys up because these look fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, lower percentages, so it's not quite the big foraged kind of, or not even foraged necessarily, but the interesting combinations that someone like Yonder put together at that massive percentage. And then you always had like Wild, who lived in that space of slightly more interesting mixes of ingredients, local ingredients, foraged things, and that sort of stuff. I don't think Wild will be doing much of that anymore. I don't know, because obviously the brand is not the same as it was.
There's like the Wilderness Brewery who are up in Wales. They're kind of reminds me of that vibe, or the Little Earth Project.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I you know what I like the most about them, Ben? Their can art looks like something from like an Amanita design game, like
Yes, it does.
Machinarium or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just this kind of
I
like
had never heard of these guys before.
lovely hand-drawn kind of, not necessarily interpretation of a thing, but someone's drawing of a thing.
Things within nature.
Yes, things potentially within the beer themselves.
Yeah.
They do have a very good. It looks like a pine cone. I don't know what it is actually. On their American Amber. What's that? What's in that beer?
Oh
To
yeah,
know.
that looks like something that would trigger my tryptophobia. So I'm. Ew.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. There's a good
I
mushroom
have
then. A few
mild
down. Good mushroom. A few
tryptophobia.
down.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good.
But anyway, yes,
Interesting.
somewhere
Okay.
to visit maybe.
Yeah.
Wonder if they have a tap room. Can I go and savor the beer? Because Oxfordshire not far.
No, not at all. It's only
Alright.
Abingdon, so yeah, not a massive trek. Good. For me tonight, I am drinking a beer from Arbor. I had a panic. I didn't have any beers. I ran around the corner, and luckily,
Oh, damn.
there was a new beer in from Arbor. This is 0121 Brew 1. So I assume it's got a couple of newer hop varietals in it. It tells me, it's 5%. It's a juicy pale ale brewed with Brew 1, Citra, Eclipse, and Galaxy hops. I don't know what the 0121 is. Is that part of the Brew 1 naming convention, potentially? Is it, a delivery
Telephone
number?
number.
I don't know. Yeah.
Call the telephone. I mean, 0121.
Oh yeah,
It's
0121.
Birmingham's.
Yeah.
There's a dial for Birmingham.
It's weird, isn't it? We don't really deal with area codes anymore, do we?
Well, who's calling a landline now? Not me,
No.
because they usually don't answer, and they say go to our website, and it's like, what happens if I'm old and frail and don't know how to use a computer?
The internet.
Let me call you.
Scary place.
Anyway.
It was brewed on the 17th of January, so it's pretty fresh. It's about 3-ish weeks old, something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm going to crack this and enjoy. Hopefully, Lucy, we'll roll round then. We'll come back to. We've spoken a little bit about Earth Ale, but we actually come back to the beer itself.
Yes, the dark mild. I'm guessing is that their style they're calling it, rather than. Rye-based double dark mild. It's a lot of words, and I'm not sure what they all mean.
Interesting.
But,
that one's not on the website.
Maybe it was a very small batch that they did, and not a style that would, Well, you'd think like a lot of the beers wouldn't be styles that would attract the masses, maybe, but then who knows? But yeah, it smells. Yeah, it smells really nice. That
Nice.
like biscuity, malty, moorish kind of smell. But yeah, it's pretty dark. It's like it's got a little bit of light bleed at the bottom, but it is very dark brown. I mean, from a distance, you'd probably just say that looks black. It's only because light shining through why it looks slightly dark brown.
Looks a little bit carbonated or at least on the glass.
Yeah, it very much was. Poured with a lot of fizz. Ooh. Because those like really moorish, biscuity, malty smells on the aroma, you're thinking it probably evokes a bit of like maybe a porter or a stout even, and you're definitely getting those like dark chocolatey, malty notes in it. But that is just contrasted by the carbonation that's on it, that's giving a bit more crisp and freshness, effervescence. Like it's not just a smooth, it's not smooth on the palate. It's a lot more energetic.
Okay.
And you're getting these like slightly berry notes. Sort of like barley wine-ish kind of nowhere near as strong. It feels, it's quite a light beer, despite having all those, deeply rich kind of chocolatey malty notes.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very easy to drink. It's
Nice.
You could knock this back easily. But what's stopping me is that those deep, biscuity, malty, rich notes. It's such a long and lingering finish
Mm-hmm.
that I don't feel compelled to go back to it because
Nice.
yes, that is what is on my palate. Just like this gives me like more of an aftertaste than some, like 10% stouts. It's got that much of those flavors are just so entrenched in the beer, and it's so deep and rich that it's like kind of belies its 6.4%.
Sure.
It tastes lighter than a 6.4% as well. It's like mouthfeel wise, and it's just got that crispness. But at the same time, it feels like a very strong beer because it's like it has all those flavors packed into it.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting much of the nettle unless I'm conflating the carbonation with that kind of like prickly, spiky taste at the start. Maybe that's the nettles, but I don't know if it is. I think getting nettles in something that has those such deep and rich malty notes might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Because with something that would taste a bit more resiny and a bit more sticky, maybe that would taste more like a black IPA or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this very much tastes like sort of like a barley wine, but with carbonation.
Right.
If that makes sense. Because you're getting those like chocolatey notes, a bit of berry. Did it say that on the flavor text? Earthy grassiness from the nettles and juniper. I think it's the juniper that I'm tasting, those berry notes. This is a really interesting beer. Really interesting. Really nice. Super glad I picked this up. Where can I buy more?
Did you see any more from this brewery in the bottle shop?
No, it was just this can.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like a super interesting style and mesh of flavors. As I say, maybe the nettle isn't coming through that much, or at least I'm not noticing it. But it doesn't take away from the rest of the beer. Like it's got a lot going on. And yeah, it's like a sessionable barley wine.
Nice.
Yeah, just like that, deep, richness of flavors. That's what it reminds me of. So yeah, this is really good.
Good. We do enjoy a barley wine, so it's nice that you're getting that level of flavour from something that is a little softer and a little lighter as well. Nice. Good. What was this Arbor? 5-ish? Yeah, 5%. Bang on 5%, in fact. So yes, the 0121 brew one, it poured quite carbonated. There's a lot of head that came up, but that's almost gone. But it's this like murk. They call it a juicy pale ale, but it's sort of a murk to it. There's it's not like a solid block of colour. It's not very strong in terms of its colour. It's a little bit of orange, but deeper in the middle, and then really light around the outside. I don't know if you quite get it on the camera.
Yeah,
just a little bit. And the nose gives a little bit of sweetness, but feels quite big again. Like this is edging on maybe like IPA territory with a little bit of fruity sweetness, but then also that kind of a little bit of mango in there maybe, but something that's just a little ripe too, something that just makes that flavour just that little bit bigger, almost giving a bit of a piney kind of nose to it. Not massive, but a little bit in there as well. It's very soft. There's a little bit of carbonation to it, but not much. Goes back very, very easily. And actually the flavour is much softer than the nose would have me believe. Maybe it's a little bit cold as well, actually. I only took it out of the fridge maybe about 25 minutes ago, something like that. It's been in all day. Well, no, it's not been in all day. It's been in since like 5 o'clock ish, something like that.
Yes. Long enough.
Maybe it's a bit cold just to be getting an initial kind of flavour from it, because it is very soft. It doesn't hit you very much. It's very light, and it just slowly creeps in with these, again, very light fruit flavours. Maybe a little bit of orange, maybe slightly heavier mango, but not very much. Just on the not too much sweetness from it, but again, not too ripe. It's not started to get into that kind of heavier, earthier sort of stone fruit sort of flavour to it. I was expecting that kind of transition between this, go from the, especially with the nose, going from that sweet into that heavier kind of ripened fruit sort of flavour into a pineness. But it doesn't quite do that. Doesn't have much of a finish to it. So there's just this huge amount of softness to it. And the nose is just very not misleading, because the flavour is similar. It's just really it's a lot smaller than the nose would have you believe. I think
it's like you're getting through it.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's the problem. I'm not getting a huge amount of flavour, so I'm supping it to be like, what is going on here? Obviously, it's Arbor, so I've got a pint, so it's okay to bash back the first bit, really. But maybe I'll let it warm a little bit and come back to it towards the end of the episode, see how I feel about it then. I don't think it's going to be one that I do bash through, especially if it does just start to release its flavour that little bit more. Again, I've just poured a little bit more into the glass, and the carbonation's come back. It's sort of fizzed up. So yeah, and that nose is still just as big. But interesting. Okay, interesting. That difference between, or not difference again, just that level difference between the nose and the flavour. So we'll see how that develops. We'll move into games. And if I may, I'm pretty sure I ended out the last episode with a quick chat with Adult about Plague Tale Requiem. And I finished it since. And I really enjoyed it. It's a great game. Maybe not quite as much as the first. I think the first was such a very well made experience, which does companion characters in a good and very well thought out kind of way. Again, the first game had some issues with some of the sections when you switch to the brother to play through, and Requiem has similar issues. So I think I mentioned to Adam, I was really enjoying it. I was enjoying the combat. I was enjoying sort of Amicia's kind of growth, how natural the skills kind of as you move through environments. It almost auto levels you up through environments depending on how you've played it through. But you get to a point in the game where it strips you of everything and basically plays this kind of like cat and mouse section of the game. And I absolutely hated it. It was like a 20, 25, 30-minute section of the game where I'm like, you've taken everything away from me. There are, like, the stakes in the story are quite high at this point. But basically I get caught and I die. And then I just start back at the very well checkpointed area that you've allowed me to get to. So there doesn't feel like there's any real repercussions to any of it. Sure, it's just repeating the same bit over and over again. And I found with that, I'm stripped of all my abilities, I've got no weapons with me, I'm hiding from characters, that actually it's just really boring. That I'm kind of just leading a character around this slightly maze-like area, getting them trapped somewhere, and then having to go and do something to be able to move on to the next section. And it really just pulled the game back for me.
Even though it was like half an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is like
it's done for narrative effect, but gameplay-wise, it's
just boring, and it just stops the momentum of the game.
Well, that's what people said about like the MJ parts in like Spider-Man, where it just like completely tanked that game for them. So I get that. like something like that, like it's just like, yeah, it's a bit annoying, but if it's something that it's like there's not too much friction to get through it, then it's okay. Some games that are like, gosh, was it Tunic? It was Tunic where it was like that one boss rush mode, and it was like, why are you doing this? And it was just that, yes, technically, if you're good at the game, it would be like a half an hour section in the game, but the amount of times I had to replay that and then it bugged out, and it was just like, I can see why a particular gameplay sequence can just completely tank your experience of the game. Yeah.
Because it grins so much, because the game does so well at moving between the high tense action combat sections and then the much more sort of narrative focused not necessarily exploration but just sort of movement through the world, that narrative build. It does very well at moving between those and giving you a bit of reprieve between the combat sections. That this was kind of almost a little bit of an in-between sort of space. It's like it's kind of combat, but it's not. But it's also not really kind of narrative. It is, but it isn't. Like it just felt a little bit out of place, and I can absolutely see why they did it, because they wanted the characters to get to a point, so some stuff can happen, and then you can move into like the final part of the game, the final quarter of the game, sort of thing. So I understand why they need a slight change. I think they just could have been done with a cutscene almost. I didn't need to play 30 minutes. That could have been a 30-second cutscene, realistically, without needing all of that section. So yeah, it just felt a little out of place, really. But it ended well.
Overall,
the game ended on a high. I think I enjoyed it much more than I think I enjoyed the end of the first game, because you have this awful boss battle again. You know, in another game that ruined by a boss battle at the end of Innocence.
So many.
Yeah. And
you'd think developers would be good at that now.
Well, Asobo were like, let's not do that again. Let's just finish the game. Like, cool, thank you, perfect.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I wanted.
There's so many times where it's like I finished a game and there's no end boss, and I'm like, I'm not upset about it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I know, because the amount of times there's been a bad end boss, and it's just like, nope. Compared to like, oh, that was really good, and that, and that, that challenged me and some stuff like that. The latter is far few and far between than just irritation. I think one of the worst ones was that Deadpool game. I don't know how I pulled that out of my memory.
Is that the Nolan North voiced one? Right.
Yeah. That was a really good game, and then I was like, I'm not doing this asshole, and I just returned the game. Just like, I'm not doing it.
Back to Blockbuster.
Yes, because those were around back then. Yeah. So yeah, I like it when games just finish.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just like, okay, you're playing the game. It's like, you're nearing the end. It's like, okay, I got to G myself up for the boss level. Maybe I'll come back to it the next morning, and then it just ends, and it's like, oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I think
I'm old.
This ends in a way like absolutely, and I love an ambiguous ending to stuff, and the game does give you that. It gives you the ambiguous ending. It then leads you through the credits into an epilogue where you get to play another sort of like 5 minutes, and it gives you a little bit extra to it, which is fine. I think if they'd missed the epilogue, it would have also been absolutely fine, and just had that kind of ending as all that sort of very stark ending that the game does have in the main campaign. So yeah, I mean, overall really good, but yeah, just drops just for that little section, unfortunately.
That's fair.
Lucy, you've played a game as well.
Yeah, I've played I am getting back into the swing of it a little bit. I've been playing Home Safety Hotline, which I'll talk about at a later date, because I think it's only about 2.5 hours or something like that. Hold on, let me go to how long to beat now.
I haven't even heard of that game.
It recently came out. Home Safety Hotline. I'll talk about it later. But it's sort of in the vein of I think on Steam it probably comes up with like you played. Is it Stories Untold? Is that the?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sort of like that vein when you're just looking at a computer and like clickety click, weird things are happening. So yeah, 2.5 hours says Home Safety Hotline, and I'm probably at least 90 minutes into it.
Okay.
Over the course of like 2 weeks, so you can see the speed at which I'm playing video games. So yeah, I'll hopefully talk about that next week because I'm actually enjoying it. I don't know where it's going, so interested to see the end. Game that I've played is for a bit longer. This particular game, I think it was the guys who kind of gave me a code. I think they said it was about 10 to 12 hours. I think I'm about probably 3 hours in. It's called Chronique Des Silencieux, which is well, it's a funny thing about the translation in this game, which I'll get to, which probably translates to something like stories of told by the voiceless or something like that. It is a detective game. It's set in, I think it's 1970s France. And this game's got like a really good sense of place. Like sort of like The Lion's Song, which was a game set in like probably like 1930s Austria. Was it before World War One or World War Two?
No,
Maybe it was
before
World
World
War
War
One.
Two.
So, was it World War Two? Okay,
so, yeah.
And that like had I love that game for like its sense of place. This game has like a sense of place. Like you know, it very much has the aura and the feel of that time frame. And it looks like I mean, I don't know if you've got the Steam page, but there's a lot of like just in-game like kind of art in it. Whereas like I wish they would show like the cutscenes in the game because they're beautiful. It's like something like in Dodonia, which is you know, which had that like kind of watercolor kind of art style. Like the interstitials in that game, it has this like really beautiful like art style in that. I wish I could find like just a, is it in one of the trailers? Yeah, this is from Pierre Foy Studio, which I don't know how many people work at the studio. I don't know if it's just the one person.
Okay.
But yeah, I wish I could find something that has
it's almost
the cartoons.
It's almost a little Where's Wally.
Yeah.
Like just the tone of the aesthetic.
Yes, like the kind of isometric view as well. Yes, yeah, I'd agree with you.
I mean, it's a little removed, as you say. It's kind of, you know, it's slightly more stylistic in kind of what it's showing you. Whereas Wally is like, here is not necessarily the aesthetic, but here is the aesthetic within different areas drawn to this tone. And I think this has a similar kind of aesthetic. It's just got a slightly different tone to it, perhaps.
Yeah, or that Pierre Labyrinth kind of maze game that I played. That was basically a Where's Wally booking set of books. But yeah, this is this. It's hard to talk about this game. It positions itself as a detective game, and I like some of the things that it's trying to do in terms of like you know, like the best detective games that you know played in recent memory, something like Return of the Obra Dinn or The Case of the Golden Idol. They have their own, you know, particular you know, technique to do puzzle solving and make you feel like a detective. This game, what's cool about it is that, you know, okay, forget the story. Because the story is like, it seems like more of a means to an end, just a wrapper around the puzzles more than something that I'm
Okay.
quite invested in at the moment. And it starts off pretty well because it's like, you go to this, you're like this young lad looking for his uncle, going to this, a strange city, it's Bordeaux, and then you're basically in a upmarket brothel, and it's like,
Nice.
oh, that's an interesting way to start a game. But yeah, a lot of the puzzle solving is you go around the town, speak to the townsfolk, speak to the people, speak to the nice madame and ladies of the night in the brothel, and you have this like tape recorder, and so you basically get in accounts of, okay, what happened, what do you know about this, where were you, this and that, and you find objects in sort of like a typical point and click kind of style. And then when it's time for like the deduction of something, you basically have this piece of string and you have to connect, okay, this object, what does it correspond to in like a character's testimony,
Mm.
or this question that the game is asking you, how does that correspond to something that a character said? And it's like it's got this nice tactile feel to it, like sort of like actual strings on like a drawing board, like
Yeah.
detective style. And so whilst that concept is, I think, really good and could be reproduced in like a really effective way and make a really good detective game, it feels like the solutions are kind of like fighting against you, and it's not
Okay.
as not as smooth as you'd like, not as seamless as you know. It's like, oh, and it's such a hard line to balance on, where it's like, how smart is a player, how quickly is the player going to pick it up, what you're putting down as a developer. And it's like, you could be 10 steps ahead of the developer and you could be 10 steps behind, and it's about
Mm.
you know as I say, it's a fine line. It's like, oh, I just want the game to understand that this is my line of thought, and it's a and and to be fair, at the start of the game, there's even like where you can report bugs and stuff. You can report like if there's if you found a tangential like reason for this solution.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
that's pretty cool. Where it's like, oh, didn't you think of this, developer? There's like an actual option to do that, which
Right.
is
Nice. I mean
really cool.
that's very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so in that sense, that's cool. But it's like, uh, should that be down to the player, because that
Mm.
can obstruct their enjoyment of the game?
Yeah.
Whereas something that it's like would require a lot of playtesting, and that's why detective games are so hard to get right. That's
Mm.
why there's so few that I can evoke in memory that I enjoyed and that are very good, that I'd put on a pedestal, like Return of the Obra Dinn
Mm-hmm.
or The Case of the Golden Idol. As I say, there's some really neat ideas in here, but a lot of the execution just isn't there. Like with the puzzles, it's like sometimes it's like a bit of attrition. You're just having to like just grind down until you reach the solution that the dev wanted you to get to, and the way that they've that how they see that, like, should the puzzle should be uncovered. And it's
Yeah.
like it's a bit too much push and pull there. There's, as I say, the art style is fantastic, and there's like these little point and click things. You're like, you know, more just like more art drawn here, just to be like, oh, there's these free coats hanging on the wall, and it's like there's this cursor that's this hand, and it's interacting over it. And it's like, what am I doing here? Because it's like the hand is just going over it, and it was like, what am I doing? What am I looking for? What am I interacting with? And then just like in this small, like very small pixel, like 1 by 1 pixel area, the cursor changes, and it's like, oh, it's over the pocket, and this is where the key is. And it's like, it didn't give me any direction as to what I'm doing there, with that thing, and
Right.
it's like I was just like moving my cursor, and it's like very small area which I had to actually click on, and it's very very rough around the edges. There's quite a few bugs. Like every time I control no alt tab out of the game and go back to it, it's like, oh, the cursor just doesn't work anymore.
Oh
It doesn't go
wow.
within the confines of the window, and it's like, just have to quit out of this. Just have to
Mm,
go to
mm.
Steam and press stop.
Yeah, it's a
And
shame for like
yeah,
everything that you're kind of explaining, or the idea of being able to report the not necessarily issue, but more the did you think of this? I've managed to solve it in this way, and that seems wrong. In the kind of the route that you're taking me down. Did you solve this?
mhm.
Issues around sort of like small bugs and things like that. It does seem like it just maybe needed a little bit more time. Perhaps just needed a little bit more kind of QA
Absolutely,
on it.
yeah, absolutely. Because one of the most glaring issues that I found was in the localization.
Right.
Um, uh, Obviously a French studio, and the first like letter that you read, as soon as you like pop into the game, like this young lad, he gets off a train where he is, and it's like, oh, a letter comes up, and it's the most broken English that I've read in a very long
Really.
time. Yeah, and it's like I was like, oh no, oh no, I cannot do this. But fortunately, like all the other dialogue in the game is like very well translated and
Mm.
localized that I've come across, like all the characters, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I was like, if this is what the game's going to be like, then I can't play this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just bizarre how that is the first thing you see, and that is your opening impression of the game, and that clearly has not been localized properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really bad. To the point where I was like, just send me the original French text and I'll do it for you for free. Because holy Christ, um, yeah,
Was that one of your bugs to the developer? Just like right, just please.
yeah. I genuinely would do it for free, because you can't start at a game like that, because it's just like I was ready just to press X. I was like, no, I'll see it through. And like, as I
Mm.
said, like the rest of the text in the game is really well written. There are some little parts like in other letters, but it's like I couldn't believe how poorly translated that was.
Mm.
So yeah, it's something that needs a lot of work, and I don't know if, despite doing all that work, if it does get done, if it will still give me the detective kind of
Mm-hmm.
gameplay that I want. It seems like something that isn't just like, I mean, localization issues and like things like the bugs. Those are easy fixes,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote easy. I'm not a developer. I'm sure it's extremely hard.
Weeks of
Um,
work.
yes, but in terms of like the underlying structure of the game, I don't know if that can be
Mm-hmm.
completely changed. But yeah, there's so much to like. Like, I really like the concept of using that kind of drawstring and matching up clues like that. And yeah, the art is gorgeous. The cutscenes are like in French, which is like really it's nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is just like, it just feels very authentically French.
Mm.
You know?
Mm.
Like a cartoon from like the 70s or something like
It's like
that.
Asterix or
Um,
something like that. You actually
yeah,
watch it properly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So there's so much to like, but it's a bit rough around the edges,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how much I'm gonna continue to work against it.
Whether
So,
whether you play any more or not, it will be interesting to
hmm
understand the changes in the developments that
hmm
kind of go into this. Because if it is a even a lone person or a small studio,
yeah,
when do you kind of cut your losses on a game? The amount of games that come out these days and there are some issues with, and studios like, we'll fix them as quickly as
hmm
possible. If that had gone out on a disc in that state 20 years ago, that's the way it was. The studio moved on to the next game and just developed it and improved and made it better. And between iterations of games, whether the studio go on to make a similar kind of game, whether it's a sequel, whether it's something that keeps kind of similar kind of mechanics and that sort of stuff, but then has grown slightly, has a slightly bigger budget, is allowed or has the money for localization, or a little bit more localization potentially, is an interesting kind of thing to look at. How much do you pour into a product which you've already kind of put out versus just cut your losses or take what you've got and just move on to the next thing. So,
I'd say, like, I mean, this looks like I mean, I'm sure every game is a labor of love, but this looks like it's had so much, resources put into it. I'm not talking about like financially or anything like that, but I'm talking about like there's cartoons in it, like the animation in it. If it's 10 to 12 hours, that's a lot of game. There's like, custom assets for like all these different, things, like, when you zoom in on something like the coat hangers or like opening a desk drawer and stuff like that. There's a lot of art in this game, and there's a lot of, UI elements and menu elements. It's like a lot has been done. So I do think it's something worth pursuing, because they've got something, and whether like they do like polish it and it's still like not a overly enjoyable detective game, I think it's worth at least polishing it to the point where it's like, oh, you're not getting bugs or you're not getting badly translated text, because there's something here. There's something here, as I say. I don't know if I don't think it will hold up to like a lot of, like even like something like, I don't know, an Ace Attorney game or something like that. But there's something here. There's something here.
From the screenshots and the sort of the trailer, some of the elements. So I like the string, I like the pins into the answers, the link, those kinds of things. But there's then this section which isn't sort of explained much, where you pull these sort of stamps or these portraits in these stamps down into a lock mechanism, and then you have a specific key which you have to kind of put in, which I assume kind of like locks in your potential answers to what you're trying to kind of, and that's an interesting sort of way of doing stuff. It looks like there's a lot of really interesting things going into this. Just maybe the overall kind of pull to take you through the whole thing doesn't quite align to the individual parts of it.
And it's one of those where it's like, I don't know what the overall I don't know where the overall narrative is going to go. It's sort of like with that game, what's it called? Season? What's the one where she's on her bike?
Oh,
the end of the world.
Is it just called Season, isn't it?
Is it just called Season?
It might have a subtitle. Or,
Yeah, I was like, where at the end of the day, where is this going to go? And that's why I fell off it a bit. I say a bit totally. I didn't go back to it.
Season, A Letter to the Future.
Yeah. I was like, this is nice, and there's like a lot of well-written text and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't see where it was gonna go. I didn't see the overall picture of it. This, I'm getting a little bit of that, where it's like, yes, the text is well written and stuff, but is there enough intrigue in these characters, in all these people, that is making me want to pursue this narrative, and therefore, work against these puzzles that have a little bit of friction, gameplay wise. So yeah, it's a shame that I didn't get along with this a little bit better, because I can tell it's got like a lot going for it. But me in the state that I'm in, where good games, very good games, don't get finished by me now, it's like this, I can see this very much falling to the wayside.
Very much. It does sound like kind of one of those games where you've got into it and then gone, it just doesn't have enough to quite pull me through.
Yeah, and the things like the bugs and stuff like that, it's just even more of a barrier. So yeah.
Well, you'll be interested to know then that the next part of our conversation is going to be me talking about Steam Next Fest games and how I have encountered several bugs in some of them because of course it's lots and lots of demos, very much to be expected. I won't spend a huge amount of time on each of them because there's actually something I want to mention which I can't remember whether I mentioned it to Adel last week, but I did play another demo for something else, which isn't part of the Steam Next Fest, but I'll come to that momentarily. So I did manage.
Oh God, it's not Final Fantasy, is it?
It's not fun. No, I haven't played the Final Fantasy. I don't know whether I will.
You wait for a deal where I can just
sit back,
just disappear.
Just have a little sleep.
Just disappear off frame.
I have downloaded that demo to the PlayStation, but I don't know whether I will play it because the game is on its way. The game will come at some point.
When is that coming? Is it this year?
The 29th. Comes on the 29th of February.
This month?
Yes.
Oh, I completely missed that.
Yeah, absolutely. I found...
The only reason I know about it is because in my news thing, just before coming on here, was something about they keep playing the piano in the game or something like that.
There's a piano section. Like in The Last of Us, you can play the guitar. You can play the piano in this? Sure.
I was like, what? There's a demo.
Yeah.
There's a piano.
It's one of these weird ones where there's a demo, but they're gonna patch the demo and include an additional section in like a week or two's time. But again, it's just so Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a £70 game, and I found it, or if I ordered it now or a couple of days ago through Currys, it was £50. And I'm like, I'll take that. Absolutely. That's the cost games. That's the cost my mind thinks games are. So I shall buy it at that price. Yes.
Yeah. And to be fair, if you're paying £70 for a game or £50 for a game, this is probably going to be like a 700-hour RPG.
Oh, absolutely. I expect to only be playing this for the next 4 years, and that's it. That's where all of my time is going. But some of the demos that I have played. I will very much pick up the game itself. I think there are still a few demos which I have on my machine to get through, but the 3 that I've managed to put some time into from the Next Fest. The first one is Bulwark, which is a Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles. So Falconeer was a game that Adel played. I haven't played it.
I played a bit of it too. The dogfighting one.
Yes, where you're on a giant falcon. But Bulwark is, it's tagged as a city builder, but it's not a city builder. It's like a resource management game with a little bit of more like townscaper-esque kind of building to it. So you have specific buildings, but actually you're painting an area rather than like placing specific things kind of down. Yes, you might have to put like a lumber mill next to the lumber area, but it's got the aesthetic of the Falconeer. Lots of it is at sea, lots of rocky outcrops. So your buildings are kind of on pontoons or built out of the sea, built onto these big rocky kind of outcrops. Or small kind of islands. It looks great, and it just allows you to be like, cool. I don't need to be like, I don't have like something like City Skylines, which is like traffic management simulator, right? And you don't have that in this. It's not that level of game. It's kind of like, I need some resources from here to here. I have done that, and now I can just expand what I have built that little bit more. There's no rush, there's no pressure, or at least in the demo none of that has kind of surfaced yet, and it just felt very relaxed and calm to sort of do this within the confines of what you're kind of doing. Like, yes, some specific things are built in these places and you can upgrade these kinds of things, but it just felt very kind of natural in the way that you're painting the landscape with what you're kind of building up and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. I haven't put much into it. What have I put into that? Nearly 3 hours actually. So I haven't put much into that, but yeah, put nearly 3 hours into that. It's got a
that is a long time.
It's got a demo of maybe the first level, and then it's got a sandbox mode as well to it, so you can just jump into an area and just start building. It limits the amount of things that you can build. So basically, you get up to a limit of being able to build 20 things, and that's it. Demo's over. You can destroy them, you can rebuild them, and just play around with that little section in the sandbox. A similar, or actually most of these games are quite similar. The other game I played, they pretty much are. The other one I played, which is a city builder, it's like a settlement builder, is called Synergy. And I've seen this advertised a lot on Twitter, and it looks really good.
Pretty one.
This is the one that's got that sable kind of aesthetic to it. It looks fantastic. It looks fantastic when you're playing it as well.
It's the one that says now broadcasting on most of the
yes. I think I don't know who the publisher is. I have to go to the store page, but I've seen this game a lot out and about in the wild on Twitter and various places. I really enjoyed the demo, but it's very, very slow. They're like, here are the speed controls, and I'm like, cool, I won't need those. I'm like, build this building. I'm like, just sat here for 5 minutes. You haven't finished this building yet. Oh, okay, fine. It just feels really slow in how you play it, but it's got some interesting mechanics to it. You build a research station and you assign people within your kind of civilization to it, and then you get to actually pick what they want to research. Research these fruits, and you find out that actually it gives you fruit, but if you harvest it, it gives you, if you harvest it, it gives you fruit, but if you chop it down, it might give you a completely different resource. So it's got a little bit of variation to it in the sort of settlement kind of builder, and I think it's much more, it's probably closer to something like Banished rather than a full-on sort of city builder. It's much more like settlement management, I think, rather than that broader, bigger scale kind of I've built a city. It's now I've kind of built a very small village, and I'm just making sure everyone lives and survives basically on this alien planet, essentially.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list of all the demos, and I clicked about 3 times on the show more, and now I'm just in the sex games.
Oh, wow, nice. Okay.
Yeah, MILF's Plaza. That was one of them, and Eighth Heaven, which is just porn, just anime porn. Yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I can't believe what I've seen. It still somehow shocks me. We've done this so many times where we just looked at all these porn games, and it's it somehow still shocks me that there's just right there these two. Oh my god, more. All right,
mate, hundreds. I bet there's hundreds on there.
I just want to find a nice little city builder that looks like Synergy.
Something really quiet. Yeah.
I was like, oh, kind words, lo-fi beats or whatever. There's a second one of those games. It's like, oh, right under the porn game, and it's just talk just about my mental health with strangers for that'll probably make me feel better. Or the porn game. Which one do I go for? Or why not both?
One's a very quick fix. The other one takes some time.
They all want to have to think about it.
Yeah.
One provides way more clarity. Yeah.
The last demo that I played from the Next Fest. Again, so Synergy I only put about 45 minutes into, because it crashed. It's crashed on me 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
So I haven't played any more of that. And so then I tried Millennia, which is a 4X strategy game. It's not necessarily a city builder. It's much more like Civilization. It's that kind of level of game. And it's a Paradox Interactive published game. I didn't like it. And I think it comes down to the very, very low like 90s aesthetic to it.
It did look like a throwback.
It's very much a throwback, right? And I like the battles happen in a pop-up screen, and the animation for the kind of characters in that pop-up screen, but also then in the world itself, feel very rushed. Everything seems quite sort of short or curt. It's all a little bit too like, and I get it. You know, they're starting at like, you're taking this through from like 9,000 BC and building up your thing through millennia essentially. I just couldn't quite get to grips with it. It doesn't have that kind of quick pop that something like Civilization does. You know, Civilization's like, or at least Civ 6, the latest iteration, is you've got a warrior unit and an archer unit. Cool. You can probably go and take over a barbarian settlement. Fine. Easy. You get the resources. You then expand a little bit. You put another city down by the one that was there, because there's lots of other resources down there. Millennia is it's slower in its animations, but it's also slower in the way that it plays. And it kind of almost wants this to be I suppose, more of a sim game, I guess. Like, it wants you to have an army of like 4 or 5 units before you try and tackle the barbarian settlement, because otherwise you're going to take 2 units and you're just going to get fucking murdered. And you're like, well, you know, luckily there's an undo button in Millennia. Like, undo. Cool, let's move back a bit.
Like an undo.
Like, go a different direction or something like that. But it kind of it's trying to do lots of different things. It's trying to be a completely different game to something like Civilization, whilst still being within that same space. And I just don't have the, whether I would for a new Civilization game, I just don't have the patience for it at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's so many, like, you know, strategy games and city builders that are just, even just on this list, it's like, and they are games that take up a hell of a lot of time, you know? So
Absolutely.
It's like, you don't need to settle.
Yeah.
Because there's always something way better on the Steam page, on the Steam store, which is sorry, just looking down this list, and there's a lot of like survival games and strategy games. And,
it did seem very sort of strategy city builder heavy. I didn't know whether that was just what was being pushed to me, or whether that's just what is, you know, what people want to have a look at the moment, or what's
it's
kind of
what
out
people want, because it's on the you know, I'm looking at the trending ones, and maybe there is just that much of an appetite for these games.
Yeah.
Because you know, like, you know, they are popular, but like, gosh, how many could people play realistically?
Absolutely, especially the sort of the sandbox survival games. Like it says that, you know, Enshrouded has just come out. There's a bunch that are on here as well, and I think it's more like you pick the aesthetic that you kind of want to play with, rather than just because I don't know whether they're clones of each other, or there's some interesting stuff kind of going on. But stuff I've got downloaded still are Pacific Drive, which is completely different to sort of pretty much everything that's there. Angerfoot as well, I've got downloaded, and Tales of Kenzera as well. But there's a bunch of other stuff. The Steam Next Fest is still on for a couple of days. We were having a quick look, and something like Indica just looks completely different to everything else. But also, so does what's it called? Not Space Trucker, Star something. Let's try and find that, because that was right. Star Trucker. There we go. Which is essentially just a Euro Truck Simulator in space.
Nice.
Which I mean, it looks great. Like
it's Futurama.
Pretty much. It's like Cowboy Bebop, but you're the trucker rather than the people trying to fucking pop the trucker, you know, over, sort of thing. So there's a ton of stuff on here, and there is quite a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of strategy on here at the moment.
Yes, because I had to wipe my D drive a few months ago, so I don't have any of the old demos had that I was keeping on there. So
yeah.
I'm trying to remember what's coming to Game Pass, because then I don't even need a demo for it. Yeah, I've downloaded Cryptmaster again.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I really
The
enjoyed that demo.
typing dungeon crawler. Yeah. Flock, which is made from the people who did I Am Dead game.
Oh, yeah.
That like, this one was hidden object game.
Yeah, I really liked High Dead.
Yeah.
Mm.
Pepper Grinder, which is a platformer. Death of the Reprobate, which is those games. I can't remember what the geezer's called, but all those games that are like really stupid Monty Python point and click adventure games that he uses all Renaissance art
Oh,
for.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, those are awesome. So, I mean, I'll just buy this regardless. That might be another Game Pass one. I don't know, but yeah.
The one I've just
Two
seen,
things downloaded.
which I will download when we finished, is Harold Halibut, which is that stop motion
Yeah.
animation one. Which again, I don't know
That's
whether I'll
one
even play it, but it just looks so interesting as a product.
Yeah, I think that's a Game Pass one.
Right.
But that's something that, I'd probably just buy regardless. I love all that. Should just make every video game stop motion.
I mean, this game must have taken fucking years to make.
Yeah, it's been knocking around since probably like 2016 or something.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. So yeah, I'll throw them some monies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that they don't go for bankruptcy.
Just
the
weep
next
into
day.
the clay. Just instantly, just like we've got so much clay
Yeah.
left. Yes. The thing I kind of want to finish out on and talk a little bit more in depth to is Alan Wake 2. Because I have been playing a trial.
Demo, haven't you?
Been playing a trial of Alan Wake 2. And even in the 2.5 hours that I have played, I am completely sold on this game. Like, I've played, what have I played? Maybe like the same amount of, 2-3 hours of Alan Wake. I tried it again when it came out as a remastered game and played maybe like an hour. And I just never got on with the first game. I don't know why. It's just whether it's just the opening, whether it's just sort of, how that game pitches itself in that first kind of initial few hours. Alan Wake 2 goes fucking hard straight away.
So I've heard.
And I'm like, yes. I bought in within the first 5 minutes of that game. And it just...
That's good.
It just...
Demos work.
Absolutely. The idea of having 2.5 hours to play that has just got me like, cool. I instantly looked online to see how much it was. Like, it's 45 quid. Do I want to pay 45 quid?
Sale a bit.
And I'm sure it probably was in like a January sale. I probably just missed it. I'm pretty sure when Epic, because it is an Epic published game, Epic over the winter break were doing like it for 20% off or 30% off, plus they were giving you a £10 voucher to be able to use, and you could have probably bought it. I could have bought it for like 25 quid or something like that. So I don't know what it's quite stopping me. Well, Final Fantasy 7 is what's stopping me from spending a little bit more money on Alan Wake 2, but it's so fucking good. Just that 2.5 hours.
40 quid currently on Xbox. It's on my wish list. As I say, I just don't know when I'm actually gonna play it. you know? Especially the spookies. Not a spooky person.
And it's like I was like, the first Alan Wake, it had like scary kind of elements to it. It was a bit more of a horror. It wasn't really a horror game.
No.
Alan Wake 2 is.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this a horror game? Like, again, Control has those spooky elements to it, and it occasionally will fire something at you which gives you a bit of a jump scare. Alan Wake 2 is
the scariest thing about Control is getting lost in that horrible
absolutely yes
map.
Yeah, very much. Yeah,
terrible map. That was the scariest thing about that game. Yes. Sorry.
But yeah, Alan Wake 2 at the moment it seems to, it gets over the issues with Control by not putting you in one giant open area, not open area, but one big world kind of thing, interconnected sort of space. You're in this area. If you want to go to this area, you travel to that area, and then you can only be in this area. So it works very well in that sort of sense. It allows you to move between them, I would imagine. I haven't got to that point. But you can't kind of like get lost around it, really.
I'll find a way.
maybe in the wooded bit, because it all looks the same. It's all woods.
Where am I going? I'm scared.
It's the way so far, the way that they've interwoven the idea. You're playing as a character called Saga, who is a FBI agent, and there's been a murder, and you come to this town to investigate and start getting pulled into the idea that you're either you're being played with, or someone's like fucking with you, kind of thing, because you pick up manuscript pages which basically explain exactly what you've just done for the last like 30 seconds. So the page will be like, these people have done this and this and this, and she's like, how am I reading? Have I got a page of exactly what I've just done? And you get the monologue of Alan Wake's voice actor over the top reading the page out to you, and I'm 2.5 hours in, and I'm questioning everything. I'm like, so is this an Alan Wake novel, and I'm playing the characters, and it's very self-referential, and that's part of the story, and I'll be pulled out of that at some point? Or is this more of a, because it's still set in the same world as Control, is this a supernatural element to it? Is this Alan Wake being prophetic and having written something which is now being discovered, and kind of is written 10 years in the past, and is actually telling kind of what's happening? Because there's loads of little things peppered around. Your partner has the same name as a character that is Alan Wake's main character within a series of novels that he has written. So it's like, well, that's, in and of itself, that's kind of odd, because is he just the character? Is this one of his novels, and actually I'm just like an accompanying character that I'm playing around with one of his kind of like detective novels? It fucks with your mind.
I really like the thought of that, like subverting expectations, like it's a like Inscription.
Yes,
so absolutely, that game was so good.
Absolutely.
So I asked for it for Christmas, but then it's one of those where it was like, oh yeah, it's not on disc.
Fucking motherfucking Santa.
Damn you, Santa. I do want to get. Yeah, and I've got some money in my Xbox account, so it's either that or RoboCop, whichever goes on sale.
Nice. I think I don't know. I think like, even with how sold I am already on Alan Wake, and how much I think it's an excellent kind of product so far, I don't know. Would you get more enjoyment from RoboCop? Like just fucking blasting motherfuckers.
I mean, I probably reference RoboCop like at least once a week, so I think the answer is RoboCop. I never talk about Alan Wake. The first game was fine, but this seems like a completely massive departure from the first one.
Very much. It
very much interests me because of, like, as you say, subverting expectations and just being a weird game. Resident Evil 3, which I've been waiting for to come on Game Pass, is coming to Game Pass, so maybe I'll have a little warm up with that.
Nice.
My survival horror. Get my sea legs back. By playing in broad daylight with the curtains open. And,
now the sun's staying up just that little bit more.
Because I'm a baby when it comes to those games. Alien, I was just like, I love Alien. It's one of my favourite films ever, but I just couldn't do it.
Isolation was
but
again,
I'd rather keep my life and not have a heart attack.
Even something like Isolation did it in sections, didn't it? It was like, there's a little bit of reprieve here. Okay, it's just the androids that are around, and actually it's not that scary.
But even they're scary when they're red eyes, and it's just like, no.
Yeah, yeah. Was it so? Alan Wake 2, as I said, it goes hard straight away.
Yeah.
And it even when you're in this like, it does the whole like heavy rain kind of thing where you're like a detective and you go into like your mind palace. In Heavy Rain, you were like in a VR space, and Saga is in this like mind palace kind of place, and very much even within that, when she's trying to get into the mind of the different people that she's sort of investigating, it does that kind of overlayering that Control did, where when characters are talking, like you still see the scene in front of you, but it will like layer moving images of kind of like outlines of characters and text and voice over the top of it and that sort of stuff. So it is as a product, it's so fucking well made. Like I tried to describe it to Kim and my mum the other night when they were sort of, because I'm like, can you like fuck off because I want to play the rest of this, please. They were just sat in the lounge, and I said, actually, because my mum is a huge Twin Peaks fan, loves fucking Stephen King and that sort of stuff. Like, Mum, you would fucking love this. Like, so what I played so far, you wouldn't, obviously you don't want to play a game, but if there was a short film of this, this would be absolutely what you would be into. And I was trying to describe the visual aesthetic of it and stuff, and I turned it back on, and there's a section where the body that you found, not to spoil the game too much, because within the first like hour and a half, but the body that you find in the morgue gets up and starts to fuck you up, and Kim was like, "No, I'm gone. Goodbye. I don't want to watch this." And my mum's like, "This isn't quite what you described, but I'm very interested." And I'm like, "Cool." So yeah, it's I think it's kind of
it just reminds me of Resident Evil 2 when you go into the morgue in the police station, and I was just like, absolutely not. I know what's going to happen. I'm not going in there. Absolutely not. I know, because it was like, oh, you have to find the key and you have to open up the drawers. It's like, I know what's going to happen. It's like, no, video game, no. So horror games suck. Why do they suck so bad? And yet I just want to play them.
Suck in the best way possible.
I know, but I can't do it. I can't.
Like it takes a reasonable amount to get a jump scare out of me, but I think Alan Wake 2 must have 3 or 4 out of me at this point, because they and again, but they don't come in that like, and this is why I love, or in my like 20s, why I was very drawn to Japanese horror films, you know, when like Ju-on and The Ring and those kinds of things started to come over here, and we got to actually see the Japanese versions of these films. Why I really drew to them, because they subvert all of the tropes, right? You have the horrible stringy kind of noises, and then just nothing happens. And 5 minutes later, bam, here it is.
It's like broad daylight. This woman's in, the street, in a busy street, and there's the jump scare.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't expect it. I think Alan Wake 2, it doesn't necessarily do that. Like, you're kind of like tense. They're still telegraphed. And they're telegraphed, and you're like, something's going to happen within this space. Yeah. I'm just not quite sure where within this space. So I know something's coming, but I'm still slightly unprepared for when it actually comes.
There was that. What's it called when they? I just saw the headlines where you can turn off the jump scares in Alan Wake. Or
yes. Yes.
Like yeah. So that'd be nice. That's the Reddit page. Someone asking them to add it.
Please do this.
Yeah, and they did it.
I love to play your game, and I'm so scared.
Yeah, so I might have to just like do that one.
Yeah.
Tune down the horror flashes. Yeah. Perfect. I'm sold then.
Nice. The idea
you're already selling it to me even more. So
the idea about jumping into a game and playing like, the difficulties being like narrative. Not even easy, just like narrative mode. You just want to experience the story. You don't want things to be hard. But actually, within Alan Wake 2, the story is fucking scary as shit. So that won't tone anything down at all. Yeah. So yes, having a dedicated thing absolutely makes sense. But even for people who just want to experience the story, but just on a slightly chilled path. Yeah.
Like me, because I'm a baby.
Nice. Good. Let's finish there.
Yeah.
Let's finish there then.
Bring back Dino Crisis.
Capcom, mate. Even in that PlayStation State of Play a couple of weeks ago, Dragon's Dogma 2, they're like, this is what we're pushing right now, and obviously Street Fighter's come out with pushing that. No Dino Crisis. Just it's not happening. It's never coming.
One day.
Same as Silksong, mate. One day.
Well, that's dead. I've given up hope on that. All lies on Capcom now for Dino Crisis. One day. That's all I live in hope for. Like, video games suck. I can't stand them. And it's just, the thing that would bring me back is Dino Crisis.
Wasn't there something? Didn't we see something that was like a Dino Crisis adjacent experience? That was like a first person something. Wasn't that? Didn't we see something like
the
that?
Jurassic Park game that they're making? I can't remember if they said if it's going to be more survivally or survival horror,
that is what I'm thinking of.
or if it's just linear. I don't know if it's been set in stone what kind of game that is. But if it's good,
can we remember?
It
what
might
that's
be the
called?
greatest game ever made. Escape from Jurassic Park. I don't know. Jurassic Park. I'll put Game Awards. That's easier. I don't even know. Jurassic Park Survival World. No. Jurassic Park Survival.
Okay, so there's no like Steam page for it yet. Then.
Yeah, this may not even come out.
There is a game called Jurassic Survival, which came out in 2016 and has mostly negative reviews. Not affiliated with Jurassic Park.
No, Jurassic Park : Survival.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of game it is. It's one of those where it's like I'm not even, I don't get my hopes for any game, but this is like firmly it's in the back shelf of my mind, because it's just like, is this really gonna be the thing? Gonna be good?
Yeah. We hope
because
so.
if they did a proper like, one can only if they did like an Alien Isolation version of Jurassic Park. Then this would be the greatest game ever made.
Ooh.
Move over Super Mario Bros. 3.
Which dinosaur would you have chasing you around?
A stupid one.
Like a brontosaurus, really fucking slow, like just like whoa. Like I can see you, mate. You're fucking massive.
I don't know. I mean, it would be the raptors, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be. Yeah, absolutely. Or Dilophosaurus, just bouncing around the area, spitting stuff at you.
Yeah, just make that. Yeah, that would be pretty good. Just make that game. How hard could it actually be? I could make that.
Do it.
Quite easily. Yeah, you just get Alien Isolation.
Just phone.
Use the engine.
Oh no, he's dead.
Yeah, and just put a. Just put a zombie, not a zombie. I was thinking Resident Evil.
Mate,
do the reverse.
Mod,
get the zombie game.
Fucking Nemesis.
Yeah, put a dinosaur in there.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
So easy. It's like, tell you, these publishers have no idea what they're. So easy.
It's so easy for Capcom. It'd be so easy.
Yeah.
Only take them a few months. Done. Just swap all the assets out.
I'm pretty sure somebody's probably done it on Steam. Already.
Make it a futuristic, compoundy jungle place instead of the police station and the sewers and stuff, and just throw in a fucking bunch of dinosaurs. Done. Easy.
Genuinely, that's all they have to do, and it's not hard. I'm not even joking. It's like, look at how quickly they churn out all these Resident Evil games. You telling me? With a 7-foot-tall lady and, big shark water monster and Nemesis and, Mr. X. You can't do that with a raptor that you made for that stupid multiplayer game. You can't just put that asset
they have all the assets
game.
as well. Yes, exactly. They could... I mean, this is what they're building to, Lucy. This will
Give
be
Leon Kennedy red hair and done.
Hang on.
You got Regina.
Capcom. When did Capcom
You emailing them?
When did no? Yes, I send a very stern email. Capcom. Oh right, okay. So Capcom was established in 1983.
Okay.
So in 9 years' time, it'll be their 50th anniversary. This is what they're building to, Lucy. They are building to a new Dino Crisis game.
What do you mean 40th?
In 9 years. No, in 9 years'
Oh,
time.
9 years' time.
In
Yeah, 'cause we've already done the
2033, yes. 2033.
Okay.
They will absolutely blast us with the new Dino Crisis game because everything, all the assets are building towards it. So they've got, like as we say, they've got the dinosaurs now. They've got the engine that they can kind of build this on. If one of their new games is set in a jungle, we know exactly where this is going.
I can't guarantee I'll be around for 9 years. The video games would have killed me by then.
They need to accelerate their program a little bit. 45 years. Don't worry about 50 years. 45 years.
Waiting
That's the big one.
Song is already taking years off my life. So. I've got a long way. Oh God, Capcom, just do it.
Oh,
you know you want to.
They do. I mean,
I'm gonna get a job at Capcom, just so that I can be that person who, like, in every meeting about squashing the bugs in Resident Evil Code Veronica remake, I'll be like, "Why don't we do Dino Crisis?"
Yeah, no one wants this game.
Why don't we do that? Yeah. At the launch party for Resident Evil 1 remake, I'll be like, this is cool and all.
Yeah.
Why don't we do Dino?
One of the really obscure side games, Resident Evil Outbreak remake or something like that. Just like, yeah, but just.
In my exit interview,
just send
for
one
harassment, I'm gonna be like, yeah, but you should really do Dino.
Just send one email every day, just to a different person in the company, just to see if that's the person that's the correct person to do it to. And they're like, "Oh, this is an internal email about Dino Crisis." Yes, what a good idea.
Yeah. I'll just spam that every day. Send it to the entire company. Yeah.
Good. Let's finish.
I'll get more unhinged every day. Where it's just Dino Crisis in size 90
1,000 times. Just dinosaurs, pictures of dinosaurs, not even words, just a picture of a dinosaur sent to people every now and again. Oh, good. Let's finish on beers for this week. We'll come back to you first, Lucy.
Yeah, I literally just finished it. It was only 330 ml can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. That was thoroughly enjoyed myself with that. As I say, the thing that attracted me to it originally, the Nettles. Don't know if I got much of the Nettle-y taste. That maybe that just contributed to like the vinous qualities and like that, that earthiness and that grassiness as the can described. But yeah, it very much tasted like a very deep and rich and malty barley wine, but it said it's rye based as well, so definitely getting all those flavors, all those moreish earthy flavors. But yeah, it's really good, and this is what I like about this. Never heard of these guys before, and now I'm obsessed.
Good. Nice.
So yeah, I need to research and find out more. So because that was just something that a style that you don't see, a lot of flavors that you don't really get all at once unless it's in something like the more like a barley wine or something, but doing something different. Now I had elements of like a black IPA, barley wine, all over the place, but really nice, really interesting. So yeah, very good, very good.
Perfect. Apologies to video viewers. We'll get my sneezes there. I thought I turned my microphone off, but I clearly just didn't quite press it quite enough.
Didn't get too much.
I don't know, something's just instantly hit me in the nose. Like, it's going to happen again. As soon as I'm talking, it's like, here we go. No, it's right. Wow, fuck's sake. I'll wake the children up as well while I'm doing it. I'll come back to the Arbor then. It's good. It did warm up. I got a lot more flavour after it had warmed up. Maybe 10-15 minutes, something like that. but it still didn't quite live up to the nose. There was a bit of a flatter flavour, I suppose, once it had warmed up a little bit, where everything is kind of merging into each other. So even just in the last sort of dregs of the flavour, you get just a touch of that kind of like, and it's there's not much sweetness to it at all. It kind of edges more towards that sort of tropical stone fruit kind of slightly earthy sort of flavour, and it doesn't, as the nose had that journey to it, there's a nice sweetness to it. There is then that more ripened kind of flavour to it that goes into a pininess on the nose that doesn't happen in the flavour. The flavour, when it was cold, you got a little bit more of that sweetness from it. When it started to warm up a little bit, you get a bit more of the earthy notes from it, a little bit of that ripened kind of maybe mango, ripened sort of stone fruit that's in there. But that didn't then push into a pininess. It didn't move into anything which had a bittering kind of element to it. It just sort of it stayed a little flat.
Yeah.
So
not many layers to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the nose is very, very deceiving on this.
Yeah.
In that I could share this with someone, just pour a tiny bit in my glass, be like, cool, I'll just smell this for the next 5 minutes. I won't worry about drinking it. Just that's what I want.
I'll just huff the fumes. Yeah.
Exactly. Not many fumes either at 5%. Just a very small amount. But I don't know whether it's the brew one and the combination of the hops, but it just fell just a touch too flat, really. Once it had warmed up. But dear listener, if you want to let us know what you've been drinking, what you've been playing, or let us know about any beers you think we should drink or games we should play, you can get us at Tanked Up Cast on all of the socials. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And you can go to outoflives.net to see the beers that we have drank and see our beautiful faces on the video version of the episodes, or check out the Out of Lives Network YouTube page as well for the same. We have started pulling out a few reviews. I pulled out Immortality from a few weeks ago, so if you just want to see some bits when I get time to do these things, then slightly more nuanced parts of our podcast will be going up as individual videos. It's not like me playing the game and talking the podcast version over the top. It's just us still talking about it, but it's a very small section of the podcast.
Did you finish Immortality?
I got to the point where you get the ending, where the one takes over the screen, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been, or at least from what I've read, there are other endings, but I haven't experienced anything else. I did delve back into it, and I'm like, oh, cool, I want to explore this a little bit more and find out a little bit more, but I haven't.
Right. Did you reach somewhere where you were content to finish on? Say if you never went back to it.
No, I would still kind of like to go back to it, and I would still like to delve in. I haven't covered a few more scenes, especially a few hidden scenes from it. And I think there's probably a lot more to actually find.
Okay. Yeah.
Scenes which I've discarded with actually probably has something in it. I'm just not, or at least when I came across it, I wasn't manoeuvring the mechanic of speeding up and slowing down, kind of the reversal enough to trigger it into an audible kind of second clip within that clip kind of thing. So there's probably a lot in there still for me to experience.
Still plugging away. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
It's kind of one where, again, a lot of my gaming time comes when the kids are around. And I think Immortality in a way is kind of okay if I've got headphones in.
Nice and porn scenes.
But yes, but absolutely, there's a lot of scenes which aren't. So I think it's very much a cool. I've unlocked this scene. Oh fuck! Come out of that. No, we shouldn't be watching that right now. Come out of that. I'll come back to that one later, and then completely forget that I have to go back to that one later, and I haven't been through it. And there's a favourites function to it, so I could potentially be like, cool, I haven't explored that. Favourite that.
That doesn't look dodgy at all.
Brilliant.
Come back to this later.
Kim's like, "What are you doing?" Like I will. You'll never expect my answer, but here it is. Yeah, very much. But even then, in some of the scenes where you can trigger those hidden scenes with the one, it's she's not a friendly character.
No,
some of the kind of monologues, or kind of some of the sort of fourth wall breaking scenes that she sort of has, where she's sort of talking directly to you, are and can be a little bit kind of unsettling. So yes, I wouldn't play those with the kids. So getting the time to sift through all of those scenes and try and do that is something I will only do probably when I have an evening to myself, and the room to myself, kind of thing, because it's not a fun thing for people to watch, really. So
scrubbing through weird. Yeah.
But then if I've got that, I'll probably play Alan Wake 2, or I'll be playing Final Fantasy 7 instead. So I have no idea.
Can't believe that's coming out. It's like one of those where it's like, when is it coming out? When is it? Just when was it announced that it was coming out?
Last year.
Oh.
Towards the end of last year, maybe.
Totally. I mean, it's no surprise that I missed it.
It's not something that you look at, is it? So
no. Like that fight. What was it? Final Fantasy 16.
Mm-hmm.
That came out. I was like, hold on. There's no one talking about this Final Fantasy game. How did that happen? I thought this was the biggest thing ever.
PlayStation 5 only?
Couldn't tell you.
I think. Ooh, let's have a quick look.
Is it on PC?
No.
I mean, I'd assume it's probably not on Xbox.
Final Fantasy 16. There we go. Let's have a quick look. Is a PlayStation 5. It says Microsoft Windows, so it probably is available somewhere on PC.
But nobody talked about it. I mean, to be fair, there were so many games that I think captured the zeitgeist more, like Alan Wake 2 and stuff. So, like Zelda, like Baldur's Gate 3. So, yeah, probably a very good game, but very high. Got lost amongst the shuffle, like a lot of things do.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 16, or
doesn't mean that it's not a big deal.
Final Fantasy XVI doesn't come up on Steam. Okay. Final Fantasy 16, the actual number 16, again doesn't come up on Steam, so it might be available on Windows somewhere, but it ain't Steam. Epic, maybe, possibly, potentially, or something like that. So, or I don't think Square have a proprietary store front. So, who knows?
What do you log into the Final Fantasy Online one?
That is its own client. Final Fantasy 14, 14 online is its own thing. Yes.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I suppose they are all of the places we inhabit. They're the beers we drank, the games we played. Thank you very much for joining us this week. We will see you soon. Goodbye.
Good night, all.
www.outoflives.net